Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Thank you everyone that submitted questions for this week's Arrow Flash Q&A. I know a lot of questions about characters coming back on Arrow like Katana, as well as, what's going on with the guns that Cisco is making for the Rogues. So I tried to add all that stuff. I was surprised by how many of you guys were worried about Roy after the episode of Arrow. The weird thing about Colton is that he has actually been on vacation, as far as we know, for the last couple of weeks, and they're filming the finale right now. At least of The Flash, I assume they're filming the finale of Arrow too. So like we had episode 17 of Arrow this week, but it was only episode 16 of The Flash. That's probably going to continue. I don't know if they're going to sync up before the finale. Mark Guggenheim made it sound like they're going to be off sync for the rest of the season. Just careful for spoilers from the episodes this week if you haven't seen them yet. So I'll start actually by talking about time travel, because there have been a lot of questions about time travel on Flash affecting stuff on Arrow. The way you should think about it is that unless Barry changes the past while he's on Arrow, while he's in an episode of Arrow, things on Arrow won't change. I guess we could widen that a little bit and say, as long as it's a crossover episode with major characters from both shows, if Barry changes the past, it will affect the other show. They'll probably reference it. But if they only do it on The Flash with Flash characters, then it's probably not going to affect what's happening on Arrow, or they'll probably not reference it. If you remember during the episode of The Flash, Harrison Wells, or Eobard Thawne, whoever you want to think about him, told Barry not to tell anyone. Barry didn't even tell Caitlin or Cisco that he changed the past. It's like a tree falling in the woods. If Barry changes the past and doesn't tell anyone about it, does anyone notice the difference? Obviously the answer is no. I also saw a lot of you guys asking about the difference between Captain Cold and Mr. Freeze, which I thought was kind of funny. There was like a separate bonus video request for that, so I might do like a fun bonus video for that in the future. On to questions though, here we go. Shimeon asks, is it possible for Cisco to recall his conversation with Harrison at the end of episode 15? And if Eddie Thawne is the second Reverse Flash, will we first be introduced to a future version of himself? So just going in order, no, Cisco probably isn't going to remember episode 15 stuff because the past changed and Cisco wasn't part of that time loop. Barry didn't pull him through time with himself. As for Eddie Thawne, I mean, that's still up in the air, so there's a number of possibilities with that character. It's an easy slam dunk for them to turn him into the Hunter Solomon character. During Flash Rebirth, both those characters reference working with each other. There's been a lot of Rick Kuznets, Tom Cavanaugh pictures from behind the set of them mugging for camera, just being funny. I think once we find out what Eobard Thawne's new plan is, or how it develops over the next 2 or 3 episodes, we'll get a better idea of where they're taking the Eddie Thawne character. Just to be clear, I think we'll see Eddie Thawne's story play out in a more linear way. So he'll learn about his heritage or his future heritage of his family, about the Flash, about the Speed Force, and then take the mantle, as opposed to like seeing a future version of him first and then seeing it how it happened. Next question, Jevin asks, do you think that when they said Lila had a friend named Rick, it was Rick Flag at the beginning of the episode? Yeah, like the person that was supposed to officiate their wedding. I totally think that's possible. Rick Flag is a big part of the Suicide Squad. He's going to be a big part of the Suicide Squad movie, so you can think of it as an Easter egg for that. Next question, Tim Perry asks, do you think the Katana will ever return to the show and maybe stop Maseo, or at least talk some sense into him? I would totally love to see her come and take him down. As much as Maseo is Oliver's friend, and you would think that he'd be the one to take him down, it'd be so much more dramatic if Maseo's wife, or former wife, Katana, did it. We don't know that they're divorced, we just know they're estranged, they haven't been living together. I know it's a bummer too that we didn't get a flashback in this episode, because we still have no idea why they split in the first place. Probably having something to do with the death of their son. Mark Guggenheim did say that we're going to get some more Katana the back half of the season, and since we haven't seen her in a little bit, I think she's coming up pretty soon. Here we go though, next question. Nope asks, WTF, do the Rogues need money if they literally have a gun that makes anything gold? This is actually a very common question. It's like, if they have a gold gun, why are they stealing stuff? Captain Cold kind of explained it when he was talking to Barry. I really like pulling heists. I'm very good at it. He loves Central and Keystone City. He loves the area. It's his home. And he just loves the thrill of the chase. It's not so much about the acquisition of wealth. It's about proving to other people or to himself that he's better than everyone. That's just Captain Cold though. The other Rogues all have their own internal motivations. Hopefully we'll see that play out in future Rogue episodes. Heatwave is a good example of someone that is just off the rails crazy. He seems like he has a little bit of Joker in him, like he's an agent of chaos. He just wants to see the world burn, literally wants to see it burn. Next question, Solar asks, my main WTF was when Ray electrocuted the shit out of Roy and nobody, after the fight, seemed to give a shit. I mean, Oliver's just straight up left him there. Yeah, I know that seemed kind of funny. Everyone seemed really concerned about Roy. They're like, Oliver just walked off and left him there. I think the people filming the episode that day just wanted the scene to end that way. They wanted to see Oliver walking away from Ray and Ray standing there just trying to figure out what was going on. I think the subtext is that Oliver circled back around and got Roy. So even though we didn't see it on screen, I don't think that he just left Roy sitting there. That's part of the problem with making television, is that sometimes the way you want to end scenes breaks continuity a little bit, but it looks the way you want it to look, so you do it anyway. So I think that's just what happened. Next question, Omar asks, what is Hive? Well, a simple explanation. I'll probably do like a full bonus video just because there's a whole bunch of Hive stuff, especially inside of Teen Titans stories. But they're basically like a big evil organization on par with Argus. They're like an evil version of Argus, kinda. I mentioned it in my Arrow video, but I'm really hoping that when Emily Kinney guest stars on The Flash, she is part of Hive. Technically, she works at Mercury Labs because they've already established that in the Flash universe. But I'm hoping that there's some Hive-related stuff just because of the B motif. Next question, Max G asks, did Ray, or the actor playing Ray, Brandon Routh, have pink eye in this episode? Yeah, I mean, he did kind of have red eyes. No, I think they just wanted to show you that Ray was a little strung out. Oliver had that comment to Felicity, he's not thinking straight. They just want to show that Ray has been overworking himself, like he hasn't been getting a lot of sleep, and that's part of the reason why he doesn't immediately believe Felicity, just because he's a little bit out of his mind. It is totally possible that the actor actually had pink eye that day, but usually they can digitally remove that stuff, so they wouldn't leave his eyes looking all bloodshot unless they really wanted them to be bloodshot. Next question. Since Oliver was missing for 5 years, and every season is more or less a year, you're talking about in the flashbacks, then what does that mean after season 5? Will there even be a season 6 with just no flashbacks? Well, I think, they'll continue to do flashbacks. What they'll probably do is just compress time in different ways or to different degrees. Stephen Amell's always been very vague on how many more seasons of Arrow he wants to do. He usually says a good many, but that can mean a lot of things. Minimum, I think 5 seasons, maximum probably 7 seasons, because I think he really wants to develop his film career, and he can't do that while he's filming Arrow over 180 days a year. So like they get to season 5, what they'll probably do is instead of the flashbacks taking place over the course of a year in flashback, they'll probably just compress that and make it like a half a year. The other really cool option is that if they have like a really cool character they bring on, they can do flashbacks for that character too. They don't have to just do Oliver flashbacks. Next question though, Harry asks, maybe Deadshot will just get horrifically scarred on his face, resulting in him wearing the iconic silver mask, and maybe come back in season 4 that way. I don't know about that. I still think there's some weirdness going on with the movie, but it is totally possible they could be moving him towards the mask. One of the practical reasons that they don't use masks a lot for actors is that it obscures their faces. Like they want you to be able to see an actor's face. So that's like when they first introduced Deadshot in Arrow, they gave him the eyepiece instead of the full-on face mask. It's also easier for the actor to move around and actually, say his lines and act in scenes with other actors whenever he's not wearing a full-on face mask. Next question, Matthias asks, I wonder what will happen with Felicity in the final scene. Do you think that she'd get hurt or something, and Team Arrow would join forces with Adam to take down the Raishas, or the fake arrows you're talking about? I definitely think that he is going to fire that arrow, and we'll find out what happens in the beginning of the next episode. There's already been some pictures from the next episode, so I have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen, but some of you said that you don't really like spoilers, so I won't say. I'll just go on to say that no one else in that room is going to die from an arrow. That doesn't mean that someone won't get hurt. As for Adam teaming up with the Arrow, I actually got some more information about that like just today as I was making this video. So I'll say that's coming sooner rather than later, just to preserve like a little bit of surprise. I won't say specifically which episode. Next question, Jared Player asks, you should make a video talking about the new Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor. So you're talking, they just released the picture. Yeah, I forgot to put that in my Arrow video. I meant to talk about it. What they've said about the character is that he won't have like that false facade that a lot of the previous Lex Luthors had, like the really comedic spin. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is just supposed to be a little more straightforward. Like he won't have any secret agenda. He'll be very open about what he wants to do and how he's going to do it. From a visual perspective, what that means is there's not going to be a lot of fake smiles. So like opposite of Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor. Next question, Charles asks, do you think that any Arrow villains will follow Ray to the Justice Society show? You're talking about the spinoff. A lot of it depends on what they want the makeup of that team-up show to be. There are Flash villains going, we know, at least in the pilot. Captain Cold and Heatwave have been confirmed. The way they made the casting announcement made it sound like those characters were permanently going to the spinoff, so anytime they appeared on The Flash in the future, they'd be guest stars. It sounds a little bit weird, but they're still casting. I think they found most of the actors that they want, and they'll probably make an announcement about who everyone is and what the name of the show is. I think that they're still waiting on like the last few people to sign contracts. I would expect at the latest for us to understand what's going on with the spinoff by Comic-Con. They'll probably make a big announcement at least by then. Next question, Satsumi asks, the Reverse Flash at the end, Is he Wells or another Reverse Flash? I think there's two Thawns. Well, yes, there are two Thawns, although I think the Reverse Flash at the end of episode 16 of The Flash was Harrison Wells. Remember, he vibrates his voice so that it sounds a little bit differently when he's talking to people. I think what we heard is just closer to what his villain voice is going to be. So whenever we get to like the big battle between the Flash and the Reverse Flash, like the big final battle, he'll be talking more like that. I do think eventually we will see another Reverse Flash, but I don't think we've seen him yet. At least, asterisk, in his Reverse Flash costume. Thank you so much, everyone, for submitting questions. These are always a ton of fun to do. Just remember, next week, episode 17 of The Flash, episode 18 of Arrow. So I think Doug Jones is actually guest starring next week on Arrow, so that should be a lot of fun. He's going to be playing a metahuman. I don't really know what his powers are going to look like, but he's called Deathbolt. He has the ability to shoot charged plasma, but I don't know which part of his body comes out, maybe his hands. We'll find out. It should be fun. I know everyone that really wants metahumans on Arrow are really excited that they're doing more metahumans. And the actor, Doug Jones, actually revealed that he's going to cross over with The Flash. I think he's going to be in episode 19 of The Flash. It'll be like Clock King going from Arrow to Flash. Be sure to subscribe to get those videos. I'm probably going to start posting some Daredevil next week too, some more Daredevil bonus videos. And I'll try to get that Captain Cold versus Mr. Freeze video out too, because Gotham still isn't back, so I have a little extra time on Mondays. So while you guys wait for that stuff, you can click here to catch up with this week's episode of The Flash, and click here to catch up with my Daredevil videos. That's coming up really soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching. Now let's all high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.